Hi. Hey guys, today I want to show you something about shoelaces. I uh, I broke a shoelace on athletic shoes, and you know those are long shoelaces. They usually have like 6 or 7 shoelace holes up either side of the shoe. I broke it near the top, and there's something in me that when I need something, I generally prefer to use something I already have rather than go out and buy something. Now, I didn't actually need to replace this shoelace. I There was something I could have done differently, and I'll get to that later in the video, but I thought I did. So I took the shoelace out, but I didn't have a long shoelace to replace it. So what I did is I had a bunch of short dress shoe shoelaces. So I replaced it with several of those, and I'll show you what it is. It's right there. You can see that I've used 4 dress shoe shoelaces, each one going up a little ways, and me tying each one. Which I've learned that these shorter shoelaces break break easily, or rather become untied easily. So I learned to double knot them. If you don't know what that is, when you tie a string or a shoelace into a bow, look up double knotting. I'd show you, but I only have one hand free because I'm holding a camera with the other one. But and actually I did it on the other one. And funny enough, I can't remember now if I broke the other side or just took that one out. Knowing me, I kind of imagine that I must have broken both sides, because if I hadn't broken one of the sides, I would have just left that shoelace in. But I'm not sure. At any rate, when I first started going out in public with these shoelaces, I felt very self-conscious. I was afraid people would think it looked weird and kind of crummy. But as I went out in public more, I came to be more comfortable with it. I even thought maybe it was a little different and kind of interesting, maybe a change from the old routine. And so I'm not that bad with it now. And that's what I'm basically sharing with you. It was kind of an interesting process to me to be uncomfortable with something at first and actually become more comfortable with it in time. And really, if you think about it, well, if I think about it, in a way, there's not a major reason to be uncomfortable because it's not hurting anyone, and it does do the job of keeping the shoes on. But you might be uncomfortable because you think people think it looks stupid. But if they knew my reasons for it, they're not terribly stupid reasons. Most people would go out and buy new shoelaces, but I just kind of, it was just easier to use these. And it's kind of nice to use these up. These had sat for a long time, unused, and some of them are really old. I think my dad bought them years or decades ago. When I put them in, I did make them symmetrical. In other words, I used the same shoelaces, a pair, and put them in the same organization on both shoes. So I think it's kind of worked out. Now, you can criticize it. You can even write in the comments that you think it looks dumb, and that's fine. But To my surprise, I thought I'd be awkward with it any time I wore them, but I've actually become somewhat more comfortable. Not 100%, but somewhat. Um, I don't know, if you really look at fashion, a lot of fashion is pretty unusual. And a lot of fashion that's unusual at first and that people might feel uncomfortable watching eventually becomes quite accepted. Will this become accepted? Maybe. One thing about this, if you think about your shoelaces, generally the places where shoelaces are the most uncomfortable so if they're laced up, they're more comfortable in all the holes but the top, because that's where you tie across, so it kind of pinches more there and it's generally more hot. So in my case, I actually have on both shoes 4 places where they pinch and they're more hot, although I think on one of them one of the laces is broken, but it might not become popular for that reason. It's a little more uncomfortable than one shoelace, but it's kind of worked out. It's sort of fun. I like being a little different sometimes, in good ways, hopefully. Um, no one has ever commented on them. If anyone ever criticized me and said that looks dumb, I might just say, I'd kind of maybe make a joke and say I had them at home and I was just too lazy to go out and buy new shoelaces. I don't know what I'd say, but I could defend. I mean, one of the reasons I'm comfortable doing things that are a little different is that if I'm comfortable, I feel like if someone criticizes me, I can defend myself adequately. A lot of times the way to defend myself is to just be very literal. I would just say the reason I did it, it's not because I don't realize that most people don't have this type of shoelace. It's just because the reality is that I wasn't too lazy. I just have kind of a philosophy of trying to use what I already have on hand. Well, I guess I could say that if someone criticized me. I could say I had these on hand and that's often my approach. But anyway, I'm comfortable with it. People might think I'm an eccentric for being different, and that's a little uncomfortable. I mean, it's not a perfect thing. On the other hand, most people aren't going to approach me or aren't going to talk to me whether I'm eccentric or not eccentric. I'm sort of hoping it. Well, it would be a bad thing if it caused someone who would have otherwise started if someone saw me on the street and potentially might be a new friend, I mean, but they were put off by these, that would be a bad thing. So it might be a bad thing. On the other hand, I guess it's conceivable. Yeah, it's not too likely someone would actually approach me over them. I mean, someone might because they think I was brave to wear something different. So it might be a bad idea. But when I've worn regular shoelaces, I didn't get approached by people a lot either. Anyway, so I guess on balance, weighing the good sides and the bad sides, I'm okay with it. Just for your interest, I thought I'd try. It did occur to me later that I really didn't handle the broken long shoelace well. What I think I should have done, so the long shoelace broke about there, as I recall, so that it didn't have a long thing coming out the top hole, and the little plastic thing was broken off that you use to advance it through each hole. But the other side was still all the way extending out the top hole and had the plastic thing. I think what I could have done is taken the broken one to the last hole that it would protrude out of, and then started moving down the side with the plastic thing, taking it out of the top holes, moving it down, and then extending the broken one till I got some length on there, so that I had enough to tie, so it would be next to the good one. They'd be lower down, but I'd have enough to tie with the good one. And then I might have put a short one in the top two holes. But I'd only have, if all that sounded complicated, I'm sorry. Ideally, I'd show it to you, but I don't have that situation now. Any questions you can ask me, or I did my best. I hope you can understand it. If I did it that way, I would have had a long shoelace on the bottom 5 holes and a short one up at the top. And I actually think people would probably, who saw that, would actually think that was a little more logical than what I ended up doing. But I didn't think of it at the time. Sorry I glance away from the camera. I'm trying to see on the monitor how my face is centered here. The other, well, that's the other thing I'm thinking about is how I learned when that plastic thing is broken off, you can sometimes pull the shoelace through a hole by attaching a needle, like putting a needle through it or something. But in this case, that I don't think that would have helped anyway, because once it broke off, it wasn't even long enough to pull through the top holes. So I still would have had to lower that longer shoelace to even get enough length that I could then tie it, enough length on that one side that I could then tie it. Okay, so that's that's what I had to say today. If I think of anything to add, I may make another video, or I may write below this video. If you like my videos, do subscribe, comment, and like, because I think, well, it makes me feel good, and comments are much valued because they give me food for thought, and subscriptions, and those things I think improve the focus. When YouTube sees that you have more subscribers, I think it auto shows your videos in better focus. So thank you, and I'm going to stop this, but I may add a little bit at the end here. Sometimes I do. If I don't, au revoir. I can add one thing. It did occur to me, let's say I had done the thing where I moved the long shoelace down a couple holes, a hole or two, and put a short lace up in the top 2 holes. That long shoelace might still have broken again. Eventually I might have ended up with these all short shoelaces anyway, although it would have been later than it was. So there's still value in seeing what I ended up with. Now, of course, I don't even know. Most people might not have a lot of short shoelaces at home, and I'll run out of them soon. But well, I think. But I happen to, so that's what I did. But this applies to other things. I always try to look for, or I try usually to look for, what do I have at home that can already have, that can solve a problem, rather than buying something new. Although it's lots of fun to buy stuff and use new stuff too.